Make way for Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice, who's joined us in the studio. Good morning to you.
Very good morning to you.
Nice to see you. We've got lots to talk about. I just want to start, though, with e-bikes, not e-bike, well, e-scooters.
E-scooters.
The government's planning to legalise the use of e-scooters on public roads. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I tried one once and was disconcerted when I was overtaken by a Boris bike. So I thought, what's the point of them?
These are the e-bikes in London.
This is e-bikes. But I actually do use an e-bike called the Lime Bikes in London.
Boo!
No, but
stop throwing things at you.
But it's very sustainable because I'm concerned about the environment. No,
Talk about it all the time.
The truth is that it's the fastest, it's the only way now to get around London because Sadiq has completely blocked the place to absolute gridlock. So I use that, but I must confess I'm a little bit of a risk taker. Don't wear a helmet.
Why? Why?
Why what?
Why don't you wear a helmet?
Well, because I like the air blowing through my hair. I like that sense of freedom.
Is that what happened to you, Matthew?
Absolutely.
You see, you wore a helmet too much, and now...
Yeah. I've got, funny enough, I have helmet hair. The irony. I mean, yeah, I'm mad.
But I think the point is that you've got to use any form of vehicle, bike, on the road, legally and lawfully. That's the point.
This is the key thing. People wouldn't mind if people were doing... But also, what about the people who haven't got lights on? They haven't got, they're wearing dark clothing. They're impossible to see. But the law isn't enforced in this country anymore. But there is no law that's enforced other than thought police.
Well, that's the most tragic, desperate thing is what is going on with our police. I mean, forces like Essex Police, what do they think they're doing? This
is Alison Pearson.
Alison Pearson.
On the show yesterday. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's just
well, you know
outrageous.
What they're doing. They're doing exactly what's been happening for quite a few years. Happened under the Tory government. It's going to get worse under the Labour government. And they're policing that rather than dealing with burglaries, people being knocked over on the pavement by an e-scooter.
It's authoritarian and it's dystopian and it's deeply, deeply concerning. Alison's got a voice, but there are hundreds, thousands of people who get this knock on the door, not told what's the tweet, who it's from, and then they're left sort of hanging out there for 12, 18 months before they're told, oh, don't worry, we're not going to do anything about it.
Or they have a non-crime hate incident recorded against them and don't know it. And
which can impact on all sorts of other things.
Absolutely.
Dreadful.
Look, I want to talk to you also about money. The shops are telling Labour that the budget now guarantees job cuts and price rises. We've had hospitality in the last week saying we're not going to survive. They've had a sort of a treble tax whammy on them. We've now got council tax bills. They're going to rise, we're told now, by around £100 for the average family in a Band D property because the cap is frozen at 5%, but obviously things can still go up along with inflation. Now, we know councils are cash strapped. We know their social care, as Matthew Lars was pointing out earlier, is a crucial part of what they spend their money on. It's not all just rainbow flags painted on zebra crossings utterly pointlessly, and large salaries for people who run the local council, far more than the Prime Minister earns. But bills are going up for businesses, bills are going up for individuals, for families, for the public sector, whether it's national minimum wage going up, whether it's employers' national insurance, whether it's energy costs, you name it, things are going up. I mean...
Where does this end?
Where does this end?
It's incredibly simple.
Well, what should the government do to help people, if anything?
I tell you what, when you spend someone else's money, why not spend it properly? Stop wasting it. The truth is that the government is spending more money, over 200 billion more after inflation than 5 years ago. Money is being wasted, leached out of the system all over the place. And I hear it from constituents, I see it in councils. There is just grotesque waste everywhere. And what the government's decided to do is that, no, tell you what, we'll tax you even more so that we can waste your money even worse. We've got the highest government spending ever, and we've got the worst public sector outcomes ever. That tells you all you need to know. Just actually spend less, but spend it better. And that's what Wes Streeting was talking about before the election. All of a sudden, he seems to have... he's gone very cold on the idea of using the independent healthcare sector. A little bit of talk around reforms, but basically it's just spend more cash.
My understanding, actually, is the private healthcare sector is pretty much overwhelmed now with all the people who can't get into the NHS.
But even so, if you want a hip replacement, you can get it on the private sector within a fortnight. So this idea that...
By a consultant who works in the NHS 4 days a week in the morning and then earns money totally entitled to do in the afternoon, why don't we just pay that person to do the work in the NHS?
Because the NHS is incapable of organising itself. So my brother is a knee surgeon, right? He can do 3 standard operations in a private hospital in a morning. In the NHS, 2.
Right.
That's all you need to know. It's that simple. So actually, use more of the independent capacity, grow the independent capacity, and then sure, the NHS can buy operations capacity 7 days a week from the independent sector.
I'm sure you're cheering as we all are. The waiting list for routine hospital appointments in England, or treatments, has fallen to its lowest level for 5 whole months. 7.57 million treatments are currently being on the waiting list. That's for 6.3 million patients, but that's down from 7.6 million. Are you cheering today?
No, because 5 years ago it was about 4 million, and the NHS was, and we're spending ever more money on the NHS. So more money is not the answer.
Is money the answer when it comes to dealing with other big issues that we face? Latest news from the the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, which many reports say that Britain saw the biggest surge in migration of any wealthy country last year. More than 700,000 permanent migrants moved to the UK last year. It's a total of that was actually almost 750,000. A total of 746,900 new, quote, permanent type migrants moved to the UK in the last year. It's a 52.9%, so a 53% year-on-year rise in migration, outpacing all other OECD countries. What do you make of that?
Well, it's shocking and it's completely unacceptable because we're all getting poorer. We've got no
I think you'll find that mass migration is going to boost the economy and productivity.
But
We've been told that for 20 years, Richard. Didn't you get the memo?
Well, I did, but I also got the memo from the OBR this year, which also confirmed that actually they'd lied to us. They've misinformed us. The senior politicians have misinformed us for years and years, decades, because it turns out that mass low-skilled immigration never contribute more than they take out of the system. And the OBR has now had to admit it. Look, smart immigration, highly skilled, highly qualified, in a number that can be absorbed, people who want to learn the language and integrate into society, we're all winners. Fantastic. We're all up for that. But mass low-skilled immigration, where people don't learn the language, often don't want to work, and take off.
But even if people do work, they're doing work that should be done by Brits.
That's right.
And they're not economically active enough that they are actually contributing.
But that's because wages have been suppressed because of large numbers. Guess what? That's basic economics. Increase the supply, then the price will reduce. Actually, what you need is less labour, which means businesses will invest in capital equipment. That's what needs to happen in farming. It's happening all over the place. And so,
and it's why we're seeing increased productivity in lots of other countries similar to us, where we haven't seen it here. And it seems the experts have been, supposed experts, rattling their brains about, well, why on earth is this not happening?
It's GCSE economics. It's A-level economics. Demand and supply. So don't increase the supply of labour, and guess what? Businesses will invest in capital equipment to replace the labour. Productivity goes up. We all get wealthier.
Can I ask, finally, what do you make of Liz Kendall, the Work and Pensions Secretary, saying we should stop, in her words, dehumanising people by referring to people who aren't working as not economically active, as economically inactive? Now, my understanding was we started using the phrase economically inactive to refer to people who were not being paid to do a job, but actually often were working. They were caring for children, for elderly relatives, doing actually very vital work, volunteer work. Backbone of a lot of our communities is actually carried out by volunteers. But apparently this dehumanises people.
No, it's completely the opposite. Actually, it helps people to say, we want you to be economically active. And the more people...
Oh, no. It actually, that's not actually the case. In a lot of cases, actually, the cost, if those people went to work and were paid a wage and were paying taxes on it, that wouldn't cover the extra cost of the caring work that has to be carried out then by someone else.
Yeah, but we've got people
are still contributing, even if they're not economically active.
We've got 5.3 million people on some form of out-of-work benefits, right? That's 1 in 8 of the adult working population. And yes, volunteers who do good work for nothing, obviously, in a sense, that's the most economically productive possible because they're not charging for their services. And that's fantastic. But the truth is that the economic inactivity of people is a disaster. I think almost 10 million people are on some form of government handout subsidies and things. There's no such thing as a free lunch.
Well, except there is these days. Matthew Larson, you're listening to all of this. I mean, there is a real concern. Look, this has all grown up under the last 14 years of the Tory government, so they don't get to walk away scot-free from this. I don't think there is anyone who's paying attention, who has any real hope that Labour are going to get to grips with it. They even see a lot of this as a problem, do they?
Yeah, no, I mean, so look, Liz Kendall may have been a bit crass in saying that economically inactive is an offensive term, but Liz is absolutely focused on getting more people who are able to work into work and giving them the support. Actually, what the Labour government...
Why do people need support?
Well, because sometimes it's people who need training, sometimes they lack basic skills, sometimes people who are illiterate because they've been failing.
Because they've gone to failing.
But actually, Matthew, that's not support, that's training.
Yeah,
skills training.
Maybe use the word training.
I'm so sorry, Matthew. Apparently, your microphone's not working. I do apologise for that, guys. You've missed. What he said was really good, though. If you did hear a little bit of it, I do apologise for that. Look, Richard Tice, just do you have any hope that we are going to, after 5 years of a Labour government, I know you're not a big fan, see any big change in the number of people who are not contributing, in our tax burden, in our cost, in our standard of living?
Well, I have to be an optimist, so I would hope so, but I fear not. I fear that we're going to flatline at best. Mass immigration will continue, so we'll all per person get poorer, whilst we look across the pond to the US and we will see them going gangbusters economically, and we'll be wondering why. Oh, maybe drill, baby, drill. Use the energy treasure under our feet, reduce taxes, get growth going, and guess what? We all get better off.
And get a little bit of Elon Musk action in.
Love it. Yeah, I want his twin brother here sorting out the waste in government spending.
Always good to talk to you, Richard Tice, Deputy Leader of Reform UK. Thank you very much indeed.